Throckmorten Schnide had a lust for power, always leaving him looking for more, and he greedily gobbled it up by the hour as he pompously toured the floor. He strutted around with his nose in the air like a bug killer sniffing out flies. With spray in his mouth and fluff in his hair, he would greet every mirror passed by. With a wiggly walk and a pigly smile, he took pleasure in making folks squirm, like a mean little boy pulling wings from a fly or sadistically hooking a worm. Throckmorten Schnide stood adjusting his pants, looking down upon something to trod, when Elmo McToad, the maintenance man, chirped good morning and tipped him a nod. How dare you address a man such as me, an important vice president? Get out of my view and crawl back in your weeds, lowly man of maintenance. On a spin of his heel, he strode out of the store with a pitiless grin on his face, to a 3-hour lunch of 6 helpings or more, and a snooze in his tanning place. Oh, la-da-da-da, la-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum. He acquired his very own tanning bed, with funds buried deep in his desk, embezzled from monies diverted away from retirement benefits. 'Twas hidden beside the loading dock, where executives never would go, and remained a well-kept secret from all except for those in the know, like Loretta, his well-endowed secretary, who would join him and perch on a stool, under the gaze of his leering eye and the drip of his lecherous drool, and Luigi Zagrido, the sniveling clerk, who helped him acquire those funds, and carried that bed on his back to the room for an illegal yet tidy sum. No one else knew about Throckmorten's abode, tucked away in the store's dark bowel, with the single exception of Elmo McToad, who one day discovered a towel. 'Twas a late afternoon on a Friday, at a slow business time of the year, when he saw Mr. Schnide drop it quite by mistake in his efforts to disappear. Oh, la-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So Elmo bent over to pick up that towel and carried it to that strange room, where he peeked through a keyhole and to his dismay watched Throckmorten himself exhume out of the jaws of that tanning bed like a giant human clam, and lift up its sunlighted ceiling to expose a deepening tan. Now Elmo was one of the many folks whom Throckmorten would often devour in his ongoing efforts to puff up himself and remind everyone of his power. And like so many others, poor Elmo would dream of the day when he'd take his revenge and quietly snicker while watching old Schnide slowly quiver and twist in the wind. Now it just so happens that on that day when Schnide was returning from lunch and was quietly sneaking away to that room where he'd frolic beneath that false sun, when Throckmorten's boss's boss pulled up to the building's door for an unannounced inspection and tour of the store. Oh, la-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Old Burn-em-out Weezer was the chairman and the owner of all he could see. He surrounded himself with obsequious men whose duty it was to agree. He marched through the store such a presence, even customers trembled with fear, not to mention the people he worked to the bone every hour for year after year. He strolled down the aisle perusing the stock, with a permanent hideous sneer, people trailing behind, taking copious notes, and craning their necks just to hear. 20 minutes went by, and he suddenly stopped and growled at the staff to his rear. I haven't seen Mr. Schnide today. Hasn't anyone told him I'm here? Like scattering roaches around an old sink, the employees dispersed in a throng, wildly shouting for Throckmorten Schnide and wondering what had gone wrong. They hunted in every department, behind every fitting room door. They searched beneath every bathroom stall, every inch of the cosmetic core. La da 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 da. The staff became ever so nervous, wondering what Weezer might say, when Elmo McToad, the maintenance man, softly smiled and said, "Walk this way." So Elmo led the old chairman to that room by the loading dock, to that place where executives dared not be seen, to a door on which he did knock. Old Weezer grabbed Elmo by the throat and flung him away from that door, then ripped it aside with a vengeful rip. His employees looked on in horror. Throckmorten lay with his sunglasses on, a lascivious grin on his face. Loretta was whispering into his ear, wearing only a small bit of lace. Throckmorten took off his Ray-Bans, and like a corpse slowly rose from the bed. Loretta, his lovely one, streaked from the room, leaving poor Mr. Schnide for dead. The various shades of color which Throckmorten's face slowly did turn created the strange phenomenon which defied every medical term. Oh, la 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 la. First the pale blue of moonlight, turning into a crimson sheen, deepening into a burgundy, becoming a ghastly green. With arms outstretched, old Weezer, like a zombie, did cross the floor, as Throckmorten Schnide wrapped himself in a towel and bolted for the door. He whizzed by that group of executives who simply couldn't believe how a man who bore such a sickly pallor could possess such incredible speed. Quite naked he leaped from the loading dock as his towel did somehow unwind, and vanished into the parking lot, leaving only his bear behind. He was last seen by a customer, gaining speed, heading south down the road, and the legend was born of how Throckmorten Schnide was outsmarted by Elmo McToad. Genius. Genius.